guys? This is Kris from ISP Seats, and we brought him in because a number of times this past season I had been in wrecks that would actually hurt my neck to the point where it would hurt me for a couple days. So I went to the chiropractor, got adjusted, did it a couple times throughout the season. I said, you know what, I need professional help. So Kris brought this seat for me. He actually measured me up and got this thing ready to go. This thing is absolutely fantastic. It's phenomenal. It fits me perfect. And we're going to talk a little bit about what this seat is, why it's different from your average seat, and Kris is going to go into a little bit of the technical specifications on it. So Kris, what's the difference in this seat physically between this seat and another seat like a regular suspension seat?
Well, what we see a lot of in the industry right now is either your suspension seat or a hard bottom seat. Basically, the suspension seat allows you to move, and the problem you have with that is it allows you to move up and down, in and out of the seatbelt restraints, and it doesn't really give you any lateral control. So through an incident, one of the things that we do know is that when your buggy comes up in the air and let's say it noses in the right front, the chassis stops moving, but now you start moving. In a suspension seat, you'll come out of the seat, go towards the point of impact, and now your seat belts turn into rubber bands and they pull you back. So now you're a pendulum. You're actually going in and out. There's a couple of things going on there as far as inertia and timing. And through the crash testing, we've learned that we want to limit your time involved in an incident. We want to limit it to that of the chassis. When that chassis comes down and hits, you need to stop moving as soon as the chassis does. When you're moving and the chassis is done moving, your duration in the incident is getting longer and longer. Your probabilities of getting injured are a lot higher.
Okay, so is that why they call this a containment seat? Because I've heard that in the industry a couple times. They talk about a containment seat versus suspension seat and everything else. Is that why that's called a containment seat?
Well, we build containment seats in every aspect of racing now. Through the crash testing, we learned that you do not want to move. The strongest areas of the body are your hip or pelvis, and the next strongest area is your shoulders. We want to control the head because we don't want a misalignment of the spinal column or the neck going on. And the whole objective here is to stop injuries from happening. By not allowing you to move, we're in control of you. As you notice on this seat, there's a rib. This is the weakest part of the seat. Your body in the rib area has too many vital organs that you don't want to try and stop the body with that. We want to use the shoulder and the hip. This seat, the structure is very strong in the hip and are very strong shoulders. So there's actually an SFI spec that we test these seats. They push 2,000 to 3,000 pounds in the hip, the shoulder, and the head. And by using these numbers along with what we've seen on the outcome of crash testing, we pretty much know exactly what we need to do and build to control the body. But the one thing that we do have to deal with very intensively is the head. The foams that I use in these seats is one of the most expensive part of my business. The coefficient restitution of the foam is very important, the rebound velocity. You don't want to go into something and come out as fast as you went into it, but on the same hand, you don't want a memory foam that once you put your hand into it, you can remove your hand and still see your handprint, because with that foam being depleted, the next time you get into it, it's going to be like hitting just bare metal. So the foam's very important, but most of all, the placement of the head and shoulder is very crucial. The foam in this seat is designed for monster trucks, rock bouncing, where we see a lot of velocity as far as height in the air and coming down and bottoming out, because we're addressing spinal compression. So there is 3 inches of foam under the tailbone in this seat, where some of your hard bottom seats that's in the market is being used don't have the proper foams. So these can actually create back injuries. And you know, the name of the game is to not allow anybody to get hurt.
All right. So one of the things that's very cool about these seats is that they're custom built to you. So whenever you go to Kris to get one of these seats made, it's not like you're just buying one off the shelf that's designed to fit multiple people. Kris is actually going to take this seat and actually mold it to you. So you're going to sit down, and it's like a tailored suit, so everything fits absolutely perfect. When I'm sitting in the seat, everything is nice and tight all the way around. My shoulder blades are hitting, and with a helmet on, I can't move my head at all. So explain kind of how you would bring a customer in and tell everybody how you do all your measurements and things like that, and how the seat's custom built for them.
Well, what we do is, first thing I do is get your height, weight, then we start measuring your body. We measure your hips, your chest width. with you sitting on a prone table with your back straight. We measured the armpit height so we know where the top of the rib of the seat will be placed. So it does address as many ribs as possible, but yet doesn't hang your armpits. Then the placement of the seatbelt holes, I will arrive from these measurements. Your chest depth tells me the depth of the rib. But with the combination of all this stuff, there's a number of things that I do. For one, I know exactly the ergonomics that you need to be in the vehicle. We try to put the helmet or the head in the same area no matter who's driving. So the angle that if you've got a short torso, you've got to sit more upright. If you have a long torso, we've got to lay you back more like a recliner. At the same hand, understanding the back angle and the head, I also build the front of the seat up underneath the back of your legs. This is where the big advantage comes through from most of your standard seats that you buy online or at any shop. When I custom build this to you, I'm getting contact throughout your whole torso, from the back of your knees, all the way through your butt area, all the way up your back, onto your head. The head support, we give you room to move your head. You can spin your head, but we don't want to allow room to move. As you can see here, the mounting of the head system and the shoulder system is left up to you. The installation guide tells you basically everything to look for and go by. And as you can see right here, the head support is going to catch Jake's helmet or his head at his ear level, but yet he still has vision and peripheral vision over it. This will not hinder your vision if it's mounted properly. The shoulder support, as you see, I can not even fit a finger through here, but yet he's able to steer the steering wheel and still shift. So he's able to function and do what needs to be done, but everything is as tight as possible. Thus, containment seat, we're going to contain you. You don't want an inch of movement. You want this stuff mounted on you. The one thing that I always say is if the hammer can't swing, it can't drive a nail. And that basically, the driver is the nail. We don't want you to move. Once something starts moving, inertia takes over. It's a lot easier to hold a bowling ball than it is to try and catch a bowling ball. And the heart of this system is your seat belts. Hopefully you watched our previous episode about the seat belts, but it is the heart of any seating system. When your seat belts and your seat are correct with your body, you're going to be more comfortable than you've ever been before.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Now, when you're mounting one of these seats inside of your vehicle, it's a little bit different than when you're mounting just a regular suspension seat. When you mount a regular suspension seat, generally you just got a couple points underneath that you're going to throw bolts through and call it a day. But with this seat, it's designed to be so much more rigid that you have to mount it a little bit differently. So Kris, explain a little bit more about how the mounting system is going to work in a normal vehicle and what we need to do and what we need to look for when we're mounting a seat like this.
Well, going back to what a suspension seat does, you're basically sitting on top of it and you can bounce up and down in it. But it is not grabbing, holding, and controlling your body. With this little thought, that at a 70G impact, a 200-pound man weighs over 15,000 pounds for a quarter of a second. On a hard impact, you become tonnage very quickly. And the point is we want to contain and control. We don't want you to start moving, because now we're going back to that timing issue. Your duration is going to start getting longer. We want to control you and keep that duration short. When you start building a seat like this to control your body, the seat is going to see the tonnage of load. So now mounting of the seat, basically the seat's only going to be good as it's mounting. So understanding that your seat will see tonnages of pressure, you do have to mount it in that type of ideology. The front of the seat, the lower back or the butt of the seat, and the upper torso of the seat, because it will see a lot of torsional twists because of the shoulder supports. These are things that you're not used to mounting a seat to concern yourself with, but this seat will put forces throughout your whole mounting area. So it's very, very important that you take your time and you do address the mounting. It also comes with an installation guide. So it does answer most all your questions. And to all my customers, my business card has my cell phone on it, so I'm here 24/7 to try and help anybody with any issues.
Alright guys, I finally got an opportunity to take this seat out and give it an old-fashioned Jake Burkey butt whipping, and I could not be more excited about this thing. I was able to beat on the obstacles like crazy and not get thrashed around. It kept me straight in front of the controls. I was able to continuously feel everything inside the cab, get to all my switches and everything. It was great. Now, let me tell you, one of the reasons that I didn't go to this seat originally was because I was worried about landing on the belly pan. I'd been in one of those seats before, the little press broke aluminum seats that are mounted to the chassis, and bounced up and landed on the belly pan. And when I did, it hurt. I was in serious pain. I had to get out of the vehicle. My back felt like it was broken, knocked the wind out of me, and I said, never again will I be in one of those press broke aluminum seats. So I ran suspension seats for the longest time. Now Kris from ISP Seats kept on telling me, man, this is not like one of those seats, but I just wasn't hearing it. I said, I don't care. Until I saw Richie Keith hit an obstacle and probably go 35 feet in the air, land on one tire, cartwheel down, land on his side, pop right back up and be perfectly fine. A couple weeks later, he goes up out there at Chocoloco, an obstacle called Violator, huge hill climb, gets crooked, turns, and rolls all the way down to the bottom. He lands and has got his hand on the gear, ready to go again. And I said, you know what, something's up with these seats, people aren't getting hurt and they're taking nasty, nasty hits. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to see what happens and give it a shot. So Kris worked with me. We got the seat built, put it in, and this past weekend I took it out and got an opportunity to thrash on it. And I hit an obstacle that is notorious for bouncing the front end, hitting the rear end, getting you straight up in the air, and landing you on the belly pan. I did exactly that. I jumped this thing, landed on the belly pan really hard, and it didn't hurt. It was great. My passenger, on the other hand, was grimacing in pain. I look over, and yeah, so we had to back off the obstacle a little bit, let them calm down, but I was 100% ready to go. It took the impact like it was nothing, and I couldn't be happier with it. So I'm 100% sold on letting on the belly pan. And it definitely, without a doubt, keeps you exactly where you need to be, centered in front of the controls, keeps you from moving around with a helmet on, your head's not moving. It's really, really good. So I get a lot of comments about this being just a competition style seat and that you can't trail ride with it, and that's not exactly the case. I would say out of a 1 to 10, this is probably about a 7 as far as comfort on the trail. The seat is very, very, very comfortable to sit in. It's molded to your body, so it's perfect. You sit in here, there's foam all around you, so it's nice and tight, and it's not like you're uncomfortable. But what it does do is limit your ability to move. So if you want to reach down there and you want to grab something out of your cooler, it's not happening. You want to grab some tools, it's not happening. My hat came off, landed in between the seats. I could touch it with my elbow, and I couldn't grab it. No matter what I did, I couldn't get over there to grab my hat. I had to take my harnesses all the way off. Even undoing the tops like this, I still couldn't get turned around in the seat and grab my hat. So yes, it's going to be a little bit of a hindrance, and that's why I rated it a number 7, but you're trading that for the safety aspect of the seat, which is by far a 10. So guys, that's my review of the product. I really like it. The workmanship is phenomenal. Welds and everything look great. This thing came out really good. So thank you, 2 thumbs up to Kris and the team at ISP. You guys did a very, very good job on this, and I couldn't be more excited. Now, if you guys want to check out any safety supplies, go to bustedknuckleoffroad.com. We got you covered on harnesses, on neck restraints, on arm restraints, helmets, anything you need from the safety aspect of things we can get for you. So give us a shout and we'll get you squared away. If you want to check out one of these ISP seats, give Kris a call at ISP Seat or give me an email and I'll forward you over. That way you guys can get in one of these seats. If you're a professional and you're wanting to go to the next level, ISP Seats can help you get there. As always, see y'all out on the trail.